Well, welcome to another Wine Time Yakima, and we're back here at the Yakima Visitor Center. As always, we want to say a very big thank you to them and to Adam, who runs the center, for hosting us again today. It's always a delight to be here. And it's a delight this week to welcome Chris Corry, our representative for this area in Olympia. Chris, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well.
It's really good to see you.
Thanks for having me. Special thanks to Adam as well for hosting me here. This place is great. Wasn't asked to plug this, but you should come down and check out all the cool stuff they have here.
It is really cool. It's great stuff. And you chose this, I believe. It's a Syrah, a 2021 Jet Black.
How can you say no to a wine with the name of Jet Black?
Exactly. And this is from Alexandria, and I've already forgotten the name of the other winery.
Alexandria Nicole down in Prosser.
That's right.
Visit their tasting room.
We're at the Destiny Ridge Vineyard at Horse Heaven Hills. So, Chris, I hope you made a good choice. Cheers.
Cheers.
So nice to see you.
Let's do this.
We'll find out. How can you go wrong? That's really nice.
Oh, that's
It
delicious.
is really nice and cool.
Yeah.
Now, are you a red drinker?
When I drink wine, I like a red wine. I don't drink it too often, just because I'm diabetic, and so I try to. Yeah, I know, it's very, very exciting. This is where you start playing the violin music in the background. I'm type 1 diabetic since I was 15.
Oh gosh, that's a long time.
Yeah, no, it's great. This is what's amazing about our healthcare technology in this day and age is like, I'm bionic. I've got a sensor, I've got an insulin pump. I oftentimes will forget I'm diabetic, and it's just wonderful.
Well, our very first guest when we started this was Mike McCabe, who's our guy, and he has the same issue, and again, he's got
we're bionic, and it works.
No need to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, and technology keeps getting better and better, and so we're getting close to 30 years, and so far so good.
Oh. That's a little interesting that we didn't know about you.
Yeah,
So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I'm going to get lots of candy in the mail now.
Do you eat candy? Probably not.
Shh, don't tell anyone. Don't tell my doctor. If Dr. Kunaraman watches this, I never eat candy.
I'm sure that's true. Well, Chris, you're now in your 4th term as a representative, because you did change districts last year. And I was curious to just go back a bit. Did you grow up here in the Yakima Valley?
No, I did not. So this is going to get me unelected. No, my wife. Sure. So my wife was born and raised here in the Yakima Valley, and I started visiting when we started dating. We met in college. I still to this day remember the first time I drove down to her parents' house on 40th, overlooking the valley. Had never been to this part of Central Washington, and over the years as we would visit, we were living in California at the time. We'd come up. First, just as newlyweds, and then once we started having children, and it was in 2013, I told my wife, I'm like, we should move to Yakima. Your family's there. My parents are over on the west side. What are we doing in California? I mean, apart from the weather and In-N-Out Burger, that's it. Like those are the two things California has going for it.
Whereabouts were you?
Orange County.
Oh,
so
right.
we were down. Yeah, we were in Irvine and Aliso. So it was a great place to live. I mean, it was very beautiful, but it's huge, it's expensive. We were trying to buy a home. It's just, and I was like, we could live in Yakima. I have grandparents in our backyard. Not literally, they have their own house, for the record. And so within 3 months, we were up here. And honestly, it was like apart from marrying her, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
And did you, even when you were in California, were you involved in politics? Was that something that was in your blood, or you were doing something completely different?
Completely different. I mean, I paid attention to politics. I didn't really get politically active until I was in college. Ironically, I tell people I became a Republican at the University of Washington, which is that's not how it's supposed to go. But I just remember kind of disagreeing with my political professors about stuff, and was like, well, I guess I'm conservative, so it's been a great journey. Like I said, I met my wife there. We met through the college Republicans. So we are really, really nerdy. I probably shouldn't be saying any of this, but I've had one sip of Syrah, so it's a true serum. So we moved up here 2013 and didn't plan on running for office. Was really just involved in the community, had a great job. And it was actually when Norm Johnson was retiring that some people in the community approached me and said, you'd be good at this, you should run. And first we laughed, and then we took it more seriously, and eventually, my wife was like, I think you should do it. And so that's how I got here.
That's a huge leap if you don't mind me saying so. I mean, most people they may have started on a local council, or they may have been in some involvement in a party organisation or something. It's just to suddenly go, you know what, I'm going to take on being a state rep. That's massive.
Yeah, there's a little bit of hubris to it, I guess. No, here's what I was telling people, and I believe this to this day. Like, I wasn't going to lose, right? Because even if I lost the election, I had all my hopes and dreams weren't in being in elected office. Like, I don't have a long-term plan. I don't have some goal. I don't need to be president or run for a higher office or anything like that. I have my family. They're the most important thing to me. I have my faith and my community. And so even if I lost the election, it just meant, I get to spend more time at home. And so I can never truly lose. Even if I do lose, I would be with my family, and I'd have more time for them, which I know they would be happy for, especially my kids. Maybe not my wife. Maybe she likes when I go to Olympia. It's a nice break for her. But, so I really do it for service. I love helping people. I find the best thing I can do is when people are struggling with dealing with the state, whatever the agency is, whatever the issue is, if I can help them, I do my best. Can't always win, right? But I just try to help, because I've been on that receiving end where you're up against this big giant state government. And it's hard to navigate those. And when they reach out, I'm so happy to help. So if you have problems, here's my pitch. I'm pitching to the camera. You're going to zoom in on me. We're going to play the music now. If you're running into issues, I can't promise always, but reach out. We'll do what we can to help and try to make things work better for people in this district.
Now, one of the curious things, though, that strikes me, and maybe you can really give some insight into this, is because being a Republican in this county, there is nothing else. But in the bigger scheme of things, you're working in what will always probably be a democratic system. How much frustration is there that you've got very little room to enact what is passionate for you, what the people who elected you need you to do on their behalf, knowing that you will almost certainly always be in a position where you can't implement? Is that frustrating, or am I completely misunderstanding?
It can be frustrating. I don't agree that it'll always be Democrat. I think that there will be shifts, right. And we'll push for that, for those changes. It can be frustrating because there are oftentimes, I think some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle know what they're doing is not necessarily the best thing, and yet they feel obligated to do it anyways. And that's where it hurts. Like, it's one thing if I know, my Democrats in the majority, they believe this and they're going to do that. Like, I can navigate that. I can try to fix it and work with it. But when I know that they know they're doing the wrong thing, that's when it gets frustrating. And so my goal, and I say my goal is to cause good chaos, but my goal is really to try to help move things more to the middle, which I would argue moves, to the right from where it is out of, a lot of the Seattle stuff we're dealing with. But that's why the personality and the relationships are so important, because there are times where I can get stuff fixed on bills that I'll never vote for, but I can at least move in a direction where it makes it less bad. And so that is why I never give up. And people say, well, it's pointless. Well, it's not pointless, because if we weren't there, it'd be even worse. And so the universe of things that they want to do and what they get done, I can help shrink and narrow. And I jokingly say to people, my goal is to stop the worst stuff so that only the bad stuff goes through. So in that regard, yes, it can be frustrating, but I'm kind of an eternal optimist. I think there's always more to improve and do, and we can get back. And so even though I'm frustrated at the time, and if you'd have asked me, this was a pretty rough session in 2025. If you'd have asked me a day after session, are you ready to go back? I'd have said no. But a month later, I'm yeah, let's go back. We'll start it again. So.
And what's a win for you?
So a win is either stopping a bill completely in its tracks that I think is harmful for our state or my district. That's a win. If you're not going to get that, it's fixing things. And sometimes people are you should just let it go through as bad as it can. And I'm no, because I know what the downstream consequences are. So my goal is to narrow and unwind. And the win in the real end is if we can actually move the needle on something to the effect of we actually pass legislation that works for both sides. So a great example of that this year was there was a push to close both the Yakima Valley School and the Rainier School on the west side. And through working with my colleagues, we were able to take the Yakima School off the table from being closed. And we have a lot of families here that really advocate for those for their family members that live there, as well as the staff that work there. They really care about their patients. And so that was win number one, but there was still the Rainier School, which we had similar families on the west side with those concerns. And we actually were willing to stand up and fight and negotiate and work on till we actually got a compromise bill where the school would remain open for the people that were already there, allow some existing reforms and tweaks for the other side that wanted to shut it down, to provide some help for them. So ultimately what we ended up with was, instead of a bill we were going to all vote against, it was a lot of us supported because it moved the needle in the right direction, and gave some reassurances for the families that have residents there, but also allowed for people that don't want to be there options to leave. And that's what good policymaking is at the end of the day. It's actually working through those differences and figuring out where the middle is, I guess.
I mean, that's a story that we covered extensively. I mean, we talked to you a number of times during when you were working on that. We knew how passionate you were about that. Are you able, therefore, to bring that passion to your opponents, if you like? And is that something that I think where you have had success?
Yeah.
In demonstrating this, look, this means a lot to so many people, and being able to bridge that partisan gap?
Well, they have to get to know who you are. And I get along with most of my colleagues. I'm sure there's ones that don't like me. It's life, right? But for the most part, I get to try to get to know them personally, get to know who their families are. If when they're in town, I hopefully have them over. And I've had people that I disagree with completely on issues at my house. Just working through stuff where we can, but building those relationships so they trust you, so that they don't assume you're coming at them with ill motives or intent. And then hopefully they can at least move the needle in your direction on stuff, even if it means not acquiescing to everything you want.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of individuals, the people who you represent on a day-to-day basis, not everyone will have voted for you, but they're still going to be coming to you with their problems, their issues,
Sure.
etc. That must be a huge burden as well, knowing that you're dealing with people's individual challenges and they're looking to you to find solutions. That's daunting.
Yeah, it can be, and it can be frustrating when I can't give them the answer they want. And like I mentioned it on the outset, like there's certain issues where like I can help with state government, like unemployment issues we deal with a lot, where like either there's a stick in the hip stick, there's like something stuck in the system where they're not getting their unemployment and they're worried about how they're going to, pay their rent, feed their family. And so my ability to help work with ESD to get those resolved, that's good. There's also more complicated ones where sometimes the answer isn't what my constituents want, and it sucks and it drives me nuts that we can't do it. But there's also times where people, like, I'll meet with anybody. I think I've been pretty clear, like, I don't have a political litmus test. I don't ask if you voted for me before I talk to you. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite bills that we passed, I think it was right before the pandemic, was a bill from a Democrat down in White Salmon who I know didn't vote for me because she told me, but she had a great idea. And so we worked on it and got it done. But I'm willing to hear people out. And there are times where I probably vote for my district in a manner that I may personally not agree with, but I think a majority of my district would support.
And in terms of the perception that we all have, I think, of this sort of very divided political system, listening to you now, I don't think that's really how you approach things. You're looking always for collaboration and trying to find where there is common ground. Is that fair? Yeah,
absolutely. And I think...
And does it work in reverse?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can. I think DC... we're a lot different. Olympia is a lot different than DC.
Oh, sure.
And the incentive structure, thankfully, is different here than it is in DC, right? The media structure and the incentive structure in Washington, DC, in my opinion, is one built around a cult of personalities and who can say and lob the craziest insults and whatnot to get on TV, to get the social media clicks. It's all about them, right? They're all essentially influencers. Most of them are no longer legislators. They're actually not working on running a country. They're running their social media and their online personalities. And I think that's the wrong setup for long-term success. But we don't have that as much in Olympia. I think we tend to be a little bit more collaborative. It's a little less personal driven. Are we getting we're almost up on time?
No,
sorry,
not at all. No,
we're seeing behind the scenes here.
No.
I've got...
No, not at all.
He's literally got the thing to pull me off stage.
We've got plenty of time.
So yeah, it works for the most part. But I will tell you, like, there has been times where, again, we are in the House, we're a minority in the Republican Party, but if we can pull off 9 or 10 Democrats, we become the majority on a certain issue. So it's finding those alliances on particular issues, knowing we'll not agree on other stuff, right? And we're able to hopefully stop bad policy, or ideally enact good policy that we think will work for everyone.
Now, you're very much a family man. It's something you've already mentioned. I mean, would it be fair to say that's more important perhaps than anything else in your life?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And you're not only your own kids, but you and your wife foster children as well. Are you worried about the sort of the political climate that we live in? What impact your work has on your children by default? Or your dad's the politician?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say, obviously, an extreme case like Charlie Kirk, but that must have made you stop and think, gosh, am I in somebody's crosshairs?
Well, I've only ever had one threat, one real threat, and it was during COVID, and it was settled, and we were fine. I don't really worry about it too much. As a matter of fact, my wife and I took a couple of our older children to the Charlie Kirk Memorial, and that was a beautiful day. That I'm glad we were able to do that. Yeah, I worry a little bit. I think about it. It's not going to stop me. My kids are, for the most part, really interested in what I do. My oldest son especially constantly talks about it. And there's times where I'm like, Caden, we got to stop. I want to move on. I think about this too much. But I'm glad. And they're also getting to see how state government runs in a level that I don't think most kids would get to see. So I've been thankful for that opportunity. But they're really supportive. And I've been very public about this, but if my wife called me up tomorrow and said, I can't do this anymore, I'm done with it, I'd stop.
And does she ever experience anything negative? I mean, when she's in the supermarket, oh, God, your husband's the one who did that. Or,
No, I don't think she's ever gotten that. I think there's been times where she sees some of the stuff going on in Olympia and she's like, I don't know how you're not screaming at them. Sorry, Jenica, if I'm spilling secrets. And she's like, it's a good thing you're doing it, not me, because I would be losing my mind. But for the most part, again, she understands why we got into it together, and what the purpose is. I want all our kids to return to the Yakima Valley. I want them to return to Washington. And I am really concerned about, the direction of the state's headed, that may not be, the case. I want my grandkids here in the Valley when I get older.
But do you still feel positive about the future for the Yakima Valley?
I think yes. For the Yakima Valley, yes. I'm a little worried about the state as a whole, but I'm also an optimist that believes that we can learn from our mistakes, and we'll start seeing some of the consequences of those mistakes and hopefully able to right the ship. And you want good, competent people to be there to help do that.
Now, Chris, I've had the pleasure of meeting you now a few times. You came in for one of our debates. You were so eminently friendly, I would say, to your opponent. I wouldn't say it was a debate, because all you were doing was sort of just answering the questions in a very congenial spirit, which I thought was great. Whereas we had some others that were far more tense.
Yeah, they were.
Exactly. Is that just how you approach life? Is that just who you are?
Yeah, I think so. I try not to get worked up over most things. Chase was a really good guy. As a matter of fact, you guys did a feature on him. He came down and spent the day with me in Olympia.
That's right. John came over.
Yeah. So we had a lot of fun together. I got to meet his wife. Very nice lady, doing great work in the Valley too. So no, my hat's off to anybody who throws their hat in the arena. I don't know if that works quite well, but it's hard to put yourself out there. It's important. I'm very defensive of this. Isn't my seat. I'm not entitled to it. I don't view somebody running against me as, anything other than them exercising their same right that I had when I stepped into the arena. So, I think that more electeds, politicians, whatever you want to call them, should have that attitude. These aren't your seats. This isn't your office. This is the office of the people of the 15th district. I happen to hold it. I am not important. The office is important. And I remind people, and I remind especially our freshmen when they get in there, because it's easy to have your ego kind of swell when you get there, because everybody's representative and all your jokes are funny. Everybody laughs at your jokes. And even I know when I tell a bad joke, I'm like, and somebody laughs, I'm like, that was a bad joke. You shouldn't have laughed. But I tell my freshmen, that sign with your name, the name in front of your seat on the house floor slides out as soon as you leave, and they'll slide a new one back in.
That's a good point.
So the position's important. You are not important.
But the way you conduct yourself, the way you behave, I think is a great example. Are you disappointed by our national politicians going all the way to the top, who
Sure.
simply don't behave that way anymore. The name calling, the abuse, coming up with really derogatory nicknames to call their opponents. How do you encourage your own children not to behave like that when they're seeing it every night on the TV?
So for me personally, I have to correct myself. Like there's times where I want to, but with my kids, when they said stuff, I remind them gently that like they are God's kids just as much as we are. And that's a good lesson that I like to use when I get angry at people. I'm like, God loves them just as much as he loves you. They are just as important as you are. And that you should treat them that way. Yeah, I'm disappointed in a lot of the language. I think a lot of the language is the reason why somebody like Charlie Kirk was assassinated, because, between the name calling and then the escalation of the rhetoric, right? Because when you start claiming people are threats to democracy and Hitler-like and authoritarian, you're essentially, you may not be directly calling for actions against them, but the message is pretty clear that if you don't, like, they're going to take away all your rights and stuff. And I think we need to like settle that down. So if again, to my point earlier, we are in a position now where the incentive structure is wrong. We've got to get away from that. We've got to stop basically calling our political opponents enemies of the state. And I don't like the nicknames. It's not how I would do things. I think that there's better ways to approach people. And I think that there's so much more things in our lives that we're united on that you don't realize, that I wish we could focus on that. We can have our disagreements, we can have our battles and debates, but there's got to be a manner when we do it where we don't dehumanize people, right and left.
And you don't see any point in the future where you'll just say, you know what, this isn't for me anymore. You still get up every morning wanting to do the best you can.
I love what I do. I have, like I said at the beginning, I have no long-term political plans. I enjoy this position. I don't think I'll be in here forever. I'm sure there will be something else I'll do in my life, either in politics or out of politics. But whatever it is, as long as it's good for my family, that's the priority, job one.
But you are going to run again?
For now, unless my wife calls me tomorrow and says you're done, because we've been married almost 20 years. That's far more important than any political career. And there's so many other things I can do besides this.
Now, how's the wine?
Wine is delicious. I was hoping you would actually take another sip because I look like.
Oh, don't wait for me, please. I'm a terribly slow drinker. It is very, very nice.
Yeah, this is.
So other than
we're not even getting paid for this stuff.
Leaving aside the wine and the candy, etc., what else do you do when you're not solving problems for the world? What do you do for fun? How do you switch off from all this?
It's weird. People wonder about that. Like, I have this weird ability, like, even when things are really stressed and things are bad, I can switch it off in a heartbeat. I usually don't have trouble sleeping. Stuff doesn't usually keep me awake at night. So what do I do for fun? So my family and I, we love traveling. I am a huge Lego fan. So my family and I, we love to, like, all of us, if you come over to our house, we've got Lego on display. We build all sorts of stuff.
I love Lego. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, can we come and film it?
You know what? We'll have to do it after a day we've cleaned the house. But I would actually, because we've got a lot of really cool things. Those are a lot of fun. When we lived in California, we were huge fans. We had annual passes to Disneyland. And so, like, one of my favorite memories when my oldest, who's now 14, was a baby, like 1 to 2 before we moved up here. On the weekends, I would take him up to Disneyland so my wife could sleep in on Saturdays. And I would, like, when he was like, I don't know, 1.5, walking around, I'd just set him down on Main Street and see where he goes. Sometimes, and some days he'd want to ride Small World 10 times in a row. We'd ride it because we had an annual pass, right? It was like our playground. And so I cherish those memories. We don't obviously get to go as much anymore. 1, because it's far away, and 2, because it's gotten so ungodly expensive.
Oh, gosh, yes.
But we just, family time is anything from, we play a lot of Tetris. So we'll do Tetris matches. So we've got like a spreadsheet on our phones where we keep like who's got the high score. Jenica's got it right now, but we're hoping to fix that soon.
Well, Chris, it seems to me that family is the most important thing to you. And I think as long as that's your core, I think, you'll always be the representative that you are.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Because it brings just a new perspective to everything. One of the things actually I noticed, and we're going to end with some our usual silly questions, because you're a board member of the Central Washington Fair.
Yes.
Yes. So I've got a couple of either or. So First of all, I was going to ask you, are you a sports guy?
Yes.
Okay, so skiing or snowboarding?
Was snowboarding. Then I got older, I switched to skiing.
You're skiing now, okay. Mariners or Blue Jays?
Oh, Mariners. That's a little dated now, unfortunately.
I threw that in there. Okay, so what is your favorite fair food?
Ooh, favorite fair food. Actually, there's a couple things. There is, and I can never remember the name of the barbecue. There's a barbecue place on the backside that sells these bacon-wrapped jalapenos, the ones they make them on the grill. Those are delicious. We always have to see, you're getting the politician answer. I'm like gonna try to hit everybody. Young Life stand, we like to go there at least once, and the Hera Burger. I've never been a bit, like everybody's like, do you try the fried food? Apart from the elephant ears, and then that's probably the fried we get from, I think that's the St. Joe's. And then we had them last year. They didn't have, there's a guy that brought in Hawaiian food.
Oh yeah.
That was so good.
They served it in the big pineapple.
Yes. Yeah, they had some good food there. So obviously I celebrate it all as the fair director. And
what's your favorite ride?
Now I got to think about that. I didn't actually go on very many rides this year, unfortunately. But if I had to pick one, it's the roller coaster, because I'm always amazed that came on a truck. I probably shouldn't say that out loud either. Sorry, Kathy, who's our CEO of the fair. That one's a fun one. My daughter, so my 12-year-old is the adrenaline junkie. The scarier, the better. That is her. And since the time she was this big, we had to like when we were at Animal Kingdom in Epcot, or not Epcot, in Animal Kingdom at Walt Disney World, she would like stand up real tall to reach the Everest rides at like 3.5, 4. And ever since then, it was like, do you want to ride the carousel? No, I want extreme. So she loves all the crazy rides. She tries to get me to go on them, but getting older, getting a little lamer.
We always do a story about when the fair opens, and this year John Franklin took the Big Dipper ride, screaming like a 12-year-old. So embarrassing.
I'm gonna have to go find this.
So embarrassing. And finally, Clinton or Obama?
For what? Who I'd pick? Yeah. Like to hang out? Like what context?
You choose. To hang out.
Hang out with? Ooh. Actually, I probably can hang out with either of them, but if it was politics, I would say Clinton. I think. Okay. I think at least he, in my opinion, he governed from a sense, this is not personal life and any of that stuff, but I think he learned quickly from where the country was headed in areas. And so you saw a political pivot when when the Republicans took back the House with Gingrich, and you saw a lot of good policies passed that he might not necessarily have championed on his own, but he saw where the country was at and went those directions. So I gotta give credit for that. I think Obama, I have some serious issues with in terms of where his politics went. We talk about political divide. That 2012 election, it became a divide and conquer type election where you were pitting groups against each other, and I don't think that's healthy for the country overall.
But isn't that where we are now? Yeah,
well, I think that was, to me, like the 2008 election was this, he had that speech of, that's not a blue America or red America, there's just America. And I think there was a lot of people voted for him because that's where they wanted to go. And then after the Affordable Care Act passed and it became clear that, the 2010, the Republicans took back over, the 2012 election really became about divide and conquer. And I think we've maintained that, and I would love to get away from that.
Fair enough. But you feel positive for the future, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think our best days can and should be ahead of us. We've overcome these problems before. I'm reminded of other times where we've had huge divisions in our country that were, I think, probably far more catastrophic than they are now, and we have been able to work through them. I just pray genuinely that we can get back to those points and figure out where we agree on things. So.
Well, Chris, thank you for joining us for Wine Time. It's always so nice to see you. I hope you enjoyed the Syrah. Keep drinking.
Very delicious.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of Yakima Wine Time. Actually, I say that wrong every week. It's Wine Time Yakima. I want to say a big thank you to Adam and his team at the Yakima Visitor Center for hosting us again today. I want to say a big thank you to John Franklin, who actually produced this week's episode. Maddie's actually been unwell, but she'll be back with us, I'm sure, very, very soon. Join us again for another Wine Time Yakima at 7 o'clock every Saturday night. And we've got some very special guests coming up in the next few weeks with a particularly special guest, no insult to you, on Christmas, our Christmas edition on the 20th. You'll want to watch that one.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're keeping that one under wraps.
It's Obama. Oops.
Yeah. You gave it away. Chris, absolute pleasure.
Cheers.
Thank you for coming in. Cheers.
Thank you.
You look after yourself.